Have you ever wondered how website like Amazon keeps you logged in across different tabs? Or how banking applications ensure that your session is truly secure? This is exactly what we are going to build today. By the end of this video, you will understand why sessions still exist, why they are still popular in 2026, when should we use sessions and when should we use token, how to scale session in distributed environment where your application is running on different lambdas, different CPUs, different servers, different containers. Real production grade implementation of the NestJS with Redis, TYPEORM and end-to-end setup. So let's get started. We are going to take a look on how to manage the sessions, what are sessions, how we can manage the session server side, how they are secure for your banking applications. Like currently mostly all the banking applications are still using server side sessions. So let's start with very basic. Session based authentication is a stateful authentication mechanism where server is managing the user state. So here is how it works. User logs in with email and password. Server validate the credential against the database. Server create a session object and store it. Server send back the session ID. Browser automatically sends the cookies in each and every request. This is how it happens, right? User logs in, server sends the session ID. It's a simple alphanumeric session ID. Now browser sends this session ID in each and every other request which we are making after login. So server look up the session ID and identify the user. State of the session is maintained purely on the server side. So the key difference, if you talk about JWT and session, the key difference from JWT that all the user data is in the token itself. With session, only the reference of that is part of the cookie data. All sensitive information is stored in the server side session. So if you see the difference of token based authentication and session based authentication, both use cases are totally different. If you talk about the simple scenarios like banking applications or e-commerce applications where you are clicking onto different tabs, like in a banking and financial application, there is where sessions are almost critical, right? So this is what happens. Browser, let's say you logged into the ICICI or banking applications, you have a backend as a sticky session, right? Now you might be thinking why they are using still session, right? So because there is an instant validation with JWT token user account, even if the user account is compromised, they can play with your token, right? Token is valid till it expires. But in the session based authentication, admin logs the account, right? Wherever you are persisting the state of the session. Suspicious activity detected, session terminated independently, immediately, right? So this is kind of a browser cookie you are going to store, and to persist the user session, we will store that inside a Redis store or inside a database or whatever. These are the different use cases. Another use cases is like a banking application, multi-tab application where you are actually clicking onto the different tabs on the browser. So with session, if the session state is shared across the tabs automatically, whenever user updates its profile, the other tab will fetch the session updated. This is because all the tabs share the same session cookies. That's the difference, right? Because once the browser has sent the cookies to you, right? Browser has sent the cookies to the browser. Browser will send the same cookie ID on each and every coming request, and you can fetch the latest data from there. Now there is another thing is, okay, how we can have this in kind of a distributed environment. I mean, that question came into my mind also. Let's say I have this kind of a problem where I have a browser and I am running a simple load balancer, and load balancer is sending requests to the multiple Node.js instances. And let's say in the first case, we are storing the session, the server side session on the memory, right? In that case, you will get into the trouble because load balancer send a request to the server 1. You created a session. Load balancer send a request to the server 2. Your session is not there. And it says you logged out. You are not a valid session. I will log you out, right? Session 3, same story. So what is the solution in the distributed environment where your Node.js application is running on a multiple nodes? The solution is the Redis cluster or some kind of a common persistent platform which all the server can read from. So this is called a sticky session problem. Old sessions use sticky sessions, but when the request is routed to the multiple nodes, you cannot predict where the request is going to. So Redis solve this problem, right? User logs into the server 1, session is created in the Redis. Next request hits the server 2. Yes, Redis has your session state. I will give it back to you. You are still logged in. So this is a simple architecture problem in the distributed manner, but this can be solved with the Redis introduction of Redis. This is a simple flow, but when you use a Redis cluster, or I mean the Redis instance, which can be accessed on multiple nodes, this problem is simplified. So when we build the simple API, what happens? You submit the user login password, validate credentials, it create a session object, right? Express session. You might have heard about Express session, that library, and that Express session also takes the parameters, how to create the cookies, where you can send HTTPS only cookies signature, right? And you can set some alphanumeric keys. Browser stores the cookies, but JavaScript will not be able to access it. We will make the cookies HTTP only. Now let's compare in-memory, file, or Redis. Obviously Redis is doing everything. You cannot store the session on the memory if you are using a distributed environment where your Node.js is running on multiple nodes. So Redis store is production ready, multi-server, persistent, and a speed is very fast because you need to fetch your session from database. It will take some time, but Redis is it's in-memory database, right? So it will be very fast. If I come to implementation, it is very easy. I will explain you the demo with the NestJS, Redis, and TYPEORM. We just create a Redis client, and this is the code that is doing everything. App.use, here we are using Express session middleware, where we are providing a store as a Redis store. Secret we are passing, and these are the cookies attribute, which we need to make the cookies secure. This is really very important. HTTPS only, true, secure, true, sameSite strict, so that we can prevent the CSRF attacks. And the maximum age you can set 1 day, or based on how long you want to keep the cookies. Similarly, auth controller, because if we are going to write a NestJS code, then it is very simple up. We just send a logout. Logout means just destroy the session, request.session.destroy at the server side. Client side, we just create a sessions and return the cookies from the controller. These are the security checklists which you always need to worry about. HTTP only, true for cookies, any type of cookies, not only just when you are using Express session. Secure, true, cookies only sent over HTTPS. SameSite true, that means cookies not sent with a cross-site request, prevent a CSRF attack, because other websites won't be able to access it. Strong secret, use 32 character random string to create this session ID. Now coming to our initial questions, when should we use cookies and when should we use token? You need instant logout capability, use session. Security is paramount, like banking and financial application, use sessions. You need to track, manage active sessions, use sessions, because tokens are stateless. But here we need to maintain the session. Compliance, reduce session tracking, server-side rendering with cookies, then use session. Tokens, when you want a stateless API, like for mobile applications, you cannot use just these session cookies, right? Because from the mobile, you need to send a session. And if you are building a mobile app, native app, then you need to have this in-browser capability. When microservice need to authenticate with the shared state, then you need a token. You need to reduce the database lookup, then you need a token, because token has everything. Token can give, I can store session ID, user ID, or auth ID inside that. When you need a cross-domain authentication, use token. So the summary, the whole takeaway is only session ID goes to the client. Data always stays on the server. Memory store is for development only. Like you can just implement a memory store, but when you want the production, then you should always implement a Redis server. Always send a Express session with the cookies, HTTP only, secure, sameSite. Cookies protected against XSS attack, CSRF attack, right? Instant validation is a superpower. Unlike JWT, sessions can be killed anytime they want, right? Track and audit everything. Sessions let you, like, you can just look into the sessions. You will know what all active users are, and you can log out, you can log, all those things are there. So all the code from this video, I will talk about a simple demo examples in another video. I will attach it there. I have covered a session-based authentication with the Redis, TYPEORM, NestJS, end-to-end demo with the GitHub repository I have already shared. So if you found this helpful, then please like, share, subscribe button.